It is an option to decide today in March of 2026. In April, if you saw this later than March, we can decide today to embrace that proposition from Ninas that says we suspend the elections and go and sort out the constitution. If you choose to proceed to election with these people who subscribe to that, if you subscribe to that constitution and you are crying about killings happening in Benue or happening in Plateau or about to happen to you in Kwara or Ondo, then you are the cause, you are complicit in your own damnation. We come again with the question of election 2027. Is that the solution to the existential threats that are racing towards Nigeria and Nigerians from all directions? At least 4. The most notorious being the killings by the Fulani invaders being executed jihad style, ethnic cleansing. The second being the state capture that has happened, in which Tinubu and his team have tossed the constitution, the disputed constitution aside, and just they are now the institutions. Whatever they say is what has to happen. And then the constitution that empowered all of the first two, both the Fulani invasion and the state capture that has happened. And the economic strangulation, the deliberate economic strangulation of the populace. These are existential. Each and every one of these 4 can bring the Nigerian Union to a catastrophic collapse. And for people who are caught in the middle of those existential threats, and they are being told that the Constitution is at the heart of what is driving everything, is actually the fountain from which all these threats are flowing. And some people advertise the election as where they want to go, and Ninas is telling the rest of people that election will only compound the entire situation. As we saw in the 1964-65 cycle that became January of 1966. That's where we are now. Disputed constitutional arrangements and elections that will come to meet the situation. That's where we are now. And so let us take a closer look at what is ahead. The doomed voyage to 2027. We're addressing 3 compartments, three constituencies now. We're talking to everybody, but different specific messages to 3 compartments of that entire audience. The first compartment is the ruling party, the APC, that just had their convention the other day, returning everybody unopposed. President, governor, everybody just appointed and selected to go and run. That's what they have chosen to do. So they are going to election. They already know the outcome of the election. We saw what they did with the electoral reforms, that some ignorant people, some uninformed, and even some dishonest, because there are some who know, but who chose to go to pursue electoral reform at the time the constitution is the problem. What electoral reform will become the replacement, will become the alternative to the constitutional reconstruction that is required? Under which constitution would that election happen, such that the reform that will bring free and fair will begin to happen in an apartheid-like constitution? In fact, our constitution, Nigeria's constitution, is worse than apartheid, and you are discussing electoral reform that will be mandated, elections that will be mandated by that constitution, in which the winners who have to govern will swear to and govern by that constitution. So we told them that it is not electoral reform that we need to pursue. It is the constitutional reconstruction of Nigeria that we need to pursue. They didn't listen. They went pursuing electoral reform. We saw how it ended. In fact, if 2023 was bad, 2027 will be far worse, because the people who already made up their mind on what they want out of the election and who are in a position to do so, they opened the back door for committing the malfeasances. The rigging is now wider open. Back to the constituency of APC, that is the ruling party. They are not listening to anything, including the fact that Nigeria may collapse on their head as they proceed, because they have taken their time to decapitate the opposition parties that could have been competing with them. So it's a no contest, it's a returning unopposed of existing government. That's what they want. They didn't want any competition at all. That's how they got 32 governors or whatever, with the other ones who are now hailing them through the window, like the one in Anambra that says Abuja is good. And so they have 32 to 34 governors in their fold. They made sure, because they were not hiding it, if Wike is now in control of a faction of the main opposition party that should have been the PDP, and PDP is in those two factions, and INEC will select the faction they will work with towards the election. Therefore, PDP is decapitated. We saw when Abure was making his nocturnal visits to Wike, so Labour Party is in tatters, it's no more. The ADC, again, we see the parallel convention, all kinds of, there are now two factions going to court in which INEC will also select. So there is nobody, there is no party, there is no opposition. We can't be talking about Showora, somebody says content creation he's doing, political content creator, they called him in one of the town halls. And so we can't even be talking about that one. And so we put all the opposition, together, including wherever Peter Obi goes. We don't know, they're talking about ADC now. We don't know how they are going to all end up. But there's the APC that is settled and waiting for coronation on the election day. There's the opposition, whether they be PDP or they be ADC or they be Labour Party or they be any other party that may spring up tomorrow saying they're going to the election. The outcome of 2027 election is already determined by what APC has done with the opposition parties, by what APC has done with the electoral reform, by what APC has done in getting the governors, because we saw the role of EFCC in all of this. We saw how those people who had to come to join them came. And so nobody's deceived. We are effectively now a one-party state. In fact, the monies being spent by the other parties that are pretending to be opposition party, most of the monies are coming from APC coffers. If anybody's in doubt, find out who is paying the salaries of people who are working in PDP secretariat. Wike is the one paying them, sitting on the laps of APC president, and telling everybody that is the APC president that is going to support for the election that is coming. So there's the APC killed the other opposition parties so that there's nobody competing with them. We know what INEC has been. We knew what they did in 2023. We will be fools to be imagining that they will repent and do better at this time with the kind of appointments that have been done. We saw what the judiciary did in 2023 cycle. We will be fools to imagine that judiciary, that Supreme Court, will repent and begin to apply the rule of law on anything, not after the houses and all kinds of open corruptive actions that have been taken to prepare them for this period. We built 40, did they say 40? That's what I heard. Houses for the judges. The executive branch is building and giving all kinds of gifts to judges that will preside over, adjudications leading to, through and after the election. So it is foolish to imagine that you're going to have a fair adjudication in that kind of a situation. So INEC is not going to do anything different. Judiciary is not going to do anything different from what we saw in 2023. And so that's the road ahead leading to 2027 elections. And so the purpose of this address is to make things very clear to us, to interpret to us the choices we are making. APC, we have nothing to tell them. Yoruba will say, "Ekorire," that you have everybody now in your camp and nobody is coming to compete with you. That's one side of the story, because there are other factors that will have to play as you proceed to that journey, especially for those who say election is not the solution to our problem. Constitution is what we have to resolve. If we are not resolving that constitution, what we have in place, the 1999 constitution, the unitary constitution, the fraudulent unitary constitution that is dispensing debt to everybody, cannot remain the basis of union. Those who understand that are going to do whatever it takes to take their sovereignty that is hijacked by that constitution. That is what APC should bear in mind, that those who are choking in this union of death imposed on them by this unitary constitution that the APC is not willing to listen to or address in any form. Election is more important to them than the lives that are being lost all over the place. And then the ones who call themselves opposition party, led by P2B and whichever party he joins, led by PDP and whatever is left of them in the factions they are, led by Labour Party that is now practically dead, all of them are now proceeding to that election, not because they are aspiring to see any change, because they already see the outcome, because they want to retain the old order. They want to retain that constitution in place. They want to retain Tinubu in place. They want to retain the killings that are happening in place. That's what they are choosing to do. Because if they are not choosing to do that, they will be more interested in how we stop all those existential threats, starting with the question of the killings that are happening. Because as long as that constitution is in place, Fulani has nothing standing their way in the killings they are carrying out. Tinubu has nothing standing his way in the state capture he's doing. And the economic strangulation that needs to happen to paralyze the populace from pushing back anybody who may say no. You can see now that there is something that has made it impossible for them to organize, and it's deliberate from the camp of the ruling party in their government house to say that that's what we call deliberate economic strangulation of opposition and the people of the land. And so that's the second constituency. In choosing to go to election, the opposition is only going to validate the criminality of the state capture that has been done by APC. And in the convention we saw going on in Abuja, you could see it was just a matter of a coronation of impunity. The APC and its adherents gathered in Abuja to coronate the impunity. The opposition party going to election under the circumstances with them, under that constitution we are saying is the problem, are also now going to validate the criminality that's already in process and executed. But there's a third constituency. All of those doing political party, whether they are APC or PDP or OPP, all of them put together cannot be more than 20% of the population. So we still have 200 million people who may be voting on election day, but who are not card-carrying members of either APC or PDP or Labour Party or ADC. Those 200 million people are the majority. Those 200 million people are the ones who will live in the aftermath of that election, who will live on the road to that election, because if it collapses before we get there, of course, they will be the ones to be buried in the numbers that it could become. And so Ninas is addressing that majority to tell them that the ruling party and the opposition parties are together under that 1999 constitution. You can see how they jump from one party to the other. There's no difference in ideology or philosophy between them, no morality. They are all together clinging onto a constitution of fraud, a constitution that is directly responsible for the atrocities happening in the land, the constitution that is directly responsible for the corruption ravaging Nigeria, the constitution that is directly responsible for everything that you could call the failures of the system, the absence of the rule of law, That is what they unite in supporting, in reinforcing, in keeping in place. That's what it is to be going to 7 cycles since 1999. We've been going to election, and on each occasion, those who know where the problems are coming from have been telling everybody, let us leave elections alone and go and solve this problem. Otherwise, it will swallow the country. It will kill too many people. It will destabilize the entire sub-region. It will create refugee crisis that the world had never witnessed before. And so the two are together. The ruling party and the opposition parties, they are united behind that constitution of death. And the only people who have to make up their mind on what they want for themselves are the victims of unitary Nigeria, the populace. And so Ninas is saying to you, you must now decide whether you want to go with these political gamblers into their journey to election, or to come with Ninas in the insisting on transition right now for constitutional reconstruction of Nigeria. To save yourself from the killing. Nothing is going to slow the Fulani down from coming to meet you where you are. They are coming. They are not waiting for election to pass before they resume. Nothing will stop the state capture in which a rule of law is suspended. You can see all of whatever they choose to do is what happens. You can see the people, EFCC, look at, put a map of Nigeria. Put a map of Nigeria on the table. See who are being hounded in and out of prison. See whether, because Oshomole it was, who was chairman of that party, APC, Oshomole it was who told us that all you who are heavy laden of corruption, come to APC and your sins will be forgiven. We have seen it. So once you are of APC, once you join APC, your corruption is put aside. And if you happen to be from the southwest part of the country, show us one person that is being among all those who looted the billions we saw happening in broad daylight. None of them is. So something is wrong with all of that. And the election will not solve that. And we're telling those who will be living in the consequences of proceeding to one more round of election under this terrible constitution that it is an option to decide today, in March of 2026. In April, if you saw this later than March, we can decide today to embrace that proposition from Ninas that says we suspend the elections and go and sort out the constitution. Go into transition. We are not anarchists, so we're not asking those in government house to go home and die. We're saying, let us accept that this constitution is the reason Nigeria is on fire and will burn down and will collapse. We're hearing it from all over the world. We heard it from Washington only Wednesday, less than 1 week ago. And so let the populace, let these 200 million people who are living in in poverty, who are living in hopelessness, who are living in the danger of being overrun by Fulani, who are living in the state capture that has happened against them, because their sovereignty is not only taken by that constitution. The people who are in government have now toppled that constitution to become the law unto everybody. You saw the son of the Tinubu throwing billions all over the place. What does that tell you? That you are no longer the owner of anything. They're just amusing you to make you believe that you are coming to vote to retain them or not retain them. They've decided what they're going to do. So it is, the responsibility will be completely yours. If you choose to proceed to election with these people who subscribe to that, if you subscribe to that constitution and you are crying about killings happening in Benue or happening in Plateau or about to happen to you in Kwara or Ondo, then you are the cause, you are complicit in your own damnation. The solution to your problem is to reject the journey to an election that will revalidate that constitution, reinforce the calamities you are crying about. Ninas is inviting you to make that decision while you can. Election is still 1 full year, one year away. I think they say it's in January or February that they'll be voting. We have this whole year to make up our minds not to go to renew our damnation, not to go to renew our enslavement. The politicians don't care about you. They only care about what they get for themselves And therefore, they cling onto the constitution that render you slave in your homeland, that render you vulnerable, open to be killed by the Fulani that are coming towards you. And Fulani is not waiting, because as long as that constitution is in place, they will continue to move until they overrun you and go to the next target. And so we are saying that the APC, we have no energy to waste on them anymore, because the proprietors of that party are people who have been involved in this process. Bola Tinubu became governor of Lagos State from the fold of Nadeko that began to search for answers to this situation. So there's nothing to tell him anymore. And all the people hanging around with him, they actually put restructuring in their manifesto. So they understand completely. El-Rufai, that is now neither here nor there, was the chairman of the committee they set up. What about that restructuring that you put in your manifesto to deceive people to now get to power at the time you got to power? What have you done with it? Has the union been structured to work now? Or why are we pretending we do not know why things are the way they are? The electricity they said they were going to do, they've now confessed that they have failed and that it will require $100 billion to go back to it. You use the constitution, the 68 items on the exclusive list of the constitution is the reason everywhere is how they are today. Nothing is going to change with electricity. Nothing is going to change with the rest of the infrastructure. Nothing is going to change with corruption. Nothing is going to change with electoral malfeasances we have seen serially under that constitution. So why are we going to election to reinforce the young people? Why are we going to election to reinforce what has failed, what is continuing to fail, what is endangering us? We just are saying it, that it is your choice to go to renew your damnation by going to election with them, or to join in saying, let us stop this journey now and sort out this source of our misery once and for all. Whatever we decide, we'll live with the consequences of it. But those who were not were not traveling with them on that wrong ship of the unitary constitution are going to do the best we can to stop them, because when they get to where they're going, all of us, if the whole place goes up in flames, all of us will be in those flames. And so we owe it a duty of self-preservation to prevent them from dragging us in that direction. Election will bring us to where we landed in 1966. Election of 2027 under this constitution will land Nigeria in that catastrophe that Sam Bramberg was talking about, that Nigeria will go into violent disintegration if we don't stop to solve this problem. It is your choice to make. Ours is to explain those choices to you as you are making them, because many will not know. They will think, okay, after election we'll come and discuss. We are saying, if you proceed to this election, you are saying we want a continuation of the killings, we want a continuation of the corruption, we want a continuation of the state capture, and we want a continuation of the life of that constitution that is responsible for everything else. We stop here.